Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Dog Podcast Network Live, where we tell you the newest episodes that are dropping this week from Dog Podcast Network. My name is James Jacobson.
And I'm Claire Mansell, and I'm in London, England, and you're in...
Aloha. Well, I'm in Maui, Hawaii. And we have a team of people all over the world, but we kind of gird these 11 time zones carefully. So it's nice to have you with us so late in the evening there, Claire.
And I've cracked open one of my several Christmas jumpers.
I love it. It is beautiful. I think I've cranked the air conditioning a little bit, but we won't go there. No, we won't
go there. It's bad enough we were having a team meeting earlier on today, and our coordinating producer, Ayla, was... I don't know where she is at the moment because she's always on the road, but she was somewhere where she looked really, really healthy and tanned, and she was wearing a sleeveless top, and it's like, oh, yes.
That is what's cool about working with this team of storytellers and producers and journalists all over the world is they are all over the world, and we get to hear wonderful weather events. We have another producer who is up north in northern New York State, and it is freezing, and it's just it's weather.
Yeah, I love it. I love touching bases with all the different places in the world. Now, this week on Dog Edition, we have a US-based episode. Well, I say US-based episode, but it's about the costs of veterinary care and why it is so expensive. And the reason I was mentioning the US there is because what I was going to say is in the US, you guys are used to paying for your own medicine at the point at which you receive it, whether that's via insurance or elsewhere. And we are very lucky in the UK because we have the NHS. And so we don't ever have to pay at the point of receiving the healthcare. So you are, you are somewhat accustomed to paying for healthcare a little bit. And so when you go and pay for dogs for their healthcare, you're perhaps slightly warm to that, even though it is still expensive, is what I was going to say. But for us,
it's very expensive. And in England, you don't do that because so many, obviously, you have the National Health Service for people.
Yeah.
And so you're not accustomed to like going to the doctor and then paying for it there out of pocket. You pay for it with your taxes. And but then so many people in the UK avail themselves of pet insurance.
Yes, exactly. So our vet care is still very expensive, but I think I think yours is probably more expensive, but it's more of a shock to us, is what I was trying to say, because we're not used to paying for anything, if that makes sense.
It should be free.
Yeah.
So this week it's a really interesting episode. We do two things on Dog Podcast Network this week related to healthcare. The show that drops on Dog Edition, which is the show that Claire and I do about understanding the cost of veterinary care. And a second show, which I will talk about, which I will tease later on the Long Leash with Michael Blackwell. But let people know about this episode of Dog Edition because it is important.
Yeah. So we're looking at the why vet care is so expensive, and it was a really enlightening episode for me. And I'd like to say I will never complain about vet care costs again. What I'm going to say is I will try to sort of, channel what I've learned from this episode to not complain, because what I learned is that the margins actually are really small and it costs an awful lot to train to be a vet, because you have to go through veterinary school for so long and then you incur those debts from higher education. And they were talking about, in the US, it's about $150,000. It just sounds ridiculous. $150,000. That can't possibly be right, but I feel it is right. And it's everything. It's the training of the vet. It's the margins on the drugs. It's all the new technology, which everyone now expects them to have, because they expect a level of medicinal care which is almost equal to humans. And, that's why it's so expensive. And the margins all the way along are wafer thin.
It's an extraordinary conversation because it's complex and everyone likes to grumble about it. And gosh, there's nothing It's just so expensive. And why is it so expensive? Who's making all the money? Well, we
Yeah.
kind of get into that in Dog Edition this week. And then tomorrow, Friday, we are dropping a show called The Long Leash, which is where I sit down and talk to newsmakers. And I sit down and talk with Michael Blackwell, who is an extraordinary public servant. He has been serving the U.S. government for 23 years. He was the assistant Surgeon General of the United States. He is a veterinarian, which is pretty extraordinary because it'd be like having a vet as head of the NHS. I mean, it's just kind of interesting. But he is doing something now that is so cool as it connects to this giant conundrum of the cost of healthcare. Because if you and I think it's expensive, people who really are on public subsidies and can't afford to buy groceries and need public assistance, they really can't afford it. And it turns out, because of all the things that we dog lovers understand, there's a strong mental, physical connection between a person and their pet. And so some of the really difficult conversations that people have about, like, I can't take care of the pet, so I have to put the dog down so that I can buy groceries, that has a giant toll. But what Michael Blackwell and this team called, and this organization is an extraordinary organization, is a nonprofit, Alliance Care, are doing is finding some solutions in really innovative ways. It's a conversation I'm really excited about. Normally on this show, we don't talk about shows that are coming out tomorrow, but it's so connected and it's such an important thing. If you are interested in why vet bills cost what they do and where the profits are being made, listen to Dog Edition, and then at dogedition.com. And then on Friday, listen to The Long Leash with this conversation with Dr. Blackwell. It's pretty amazing.
And what you're saying there about mental health and how humans and dogs' mental health ties in together does kind of also hark back to the episode which dropped last Friday, which is live at the moment, which is your conversation with Beth Miller. And she's talking about something which is a bit of a pet subject of mine, which is how the built environment affects us, you know, mentally and socially. It has such a huge impact on us. And she has set up this organization called Wagtown, and she advises different localities and towns and cities about how to make their towns more dog friendly. And you think, oh, this is a nice thing. If it's kind of dog friendly, but no, the impact of making a town dog friendly is huge, because she talks about how dogs are this great social lubricant. And so if you give people places to go with their dogs, then they're interacting more, and that builds upon communities, and it helps businesses become more profitable. And also, actually, you know, going back to the original thing you're talking about with the episode tomorrow, it helps people live longer, because we know that dogs help people live longer. It's an extraordinary thing. So if you make towns dog friendly, the residents live longer. Wow. And I love the quote, by the way. Sorry, just to leap in here as well. There's a quote that she says in the episode where she says, if you pop a poodle in a town, it causes ripples.
Yes. It is nice to have dog friendly towns, and this is this thing, you know, this the butterfly effect. If you do this one thing, a butterfly flaps its wing in Brazil, and it affects something across the globe. It is true. And we as dog lovers, and everyone here at Dog Podcast Network, knows the impact that dogs have on our lives in terms of our mental and our physical health. But it turns out that, as Beth Miller talks about, the economic health of a community and the viability and everything is just all intertwined. And I'm just so grateful that there are people like Beth and Dr. Blackwell who are looking at these really meta questions and trying to make the world a lot better for all us dog lovers.
Yeah. Now, talking of how dogs can improve your mental health and things, has your mental health been any better this week? Just, you know, I just asking.
Well, let's just say that we are fostering a little puppy named Chloe. So a dog has entered our lives under some pretty tragic circumstances.
Yeah.
We had a neighbor who passed away in her 80s, and that Chloe was her dog, and so Chloe is being fostered by us right now. Now she's very small and very cute,
Yeah.
and she's a multi-poo, and she has, just a few issues that we're trying to smooth out.
Yep.
And fostering is never easy because you have this inclination where, like, I will just adopt everything. But I
Yeah.
think so. It's this kind of crazy, like, oh, everyone thinks, oh, she's your doggy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we're fostering, but implicit in there is that there's a potential for a foster fail. But if maybe the higher good is to make this dog such an incredible dog
Yeah.
that you will find, can I say, a better family than ours? No,
Well, I mean,
but a different
it might be possible. I mean, it might be. I
maybe.
can't see how it would be, but it
Oprah lives
might
up the
be.
street, so maybe, I don't know.
But
But yeah.
yeah, I think you're right that Team Dog are way too invested in, this dog appeared and everyone's like, oh, they're gonna keep it forever. But it is a foster. And I think, what you're highlighting here is it's very important that you get the dog that is right for you. It's really important. And there's nothing sadder actually than, when somebody, because this is on my mind at the moment because I've been researching an episode about breeders and I've been talking about some of those occasions where breeders home a puppy and it comes back to them because it hasn't been a good match. And it's nothing to do with the puppy. It's just the temperament of that breed and everything else, or whatever. It's just not the right puppy for them. So it's got to be absolutely right for you.
Yeah. Well, and it has to be right for the dog and everything. And anyway, Chloe is lovely. I expect you will hear a little bit more about Chloe in the coming weeks because she's very cute and she is very adorable in so many ways. And it's a little bit like falling in love, but doing it in a guarded way.
It's a good job that we don't live around the corner from you because my daughter would be right over there. And then the moment we had seen her and she had got a whiff of the fact that Chloe was a foster and might need another home, that would be it. Then we would be in it with you as well. And it'd be like chaos. Yeah, she's very cute.
She's very cute and she has changed a bit. I mean, she's been through a rough life. She was adopted by the neighbor, and so she's had a little bit of a challenge in life, but she's 6 years old and is doing well and definitely appreciates the upgraded food. There's no, like, she came with some kibble and I'm like, no, we're gonna so I tend to spoil, and for some reason the dogs really like the way I cook. Imagine that.
We know that all of your guests, canine and human, get spoiled on the food department.
I like to feed people well.
Yeah, you're a feeder.
So anyway, that is new in our life, but it is nice to have this little, very small 6-pound a bundle of joy in the house.
Yeah, I feel like I'm asking this about a baby, but does Chloe sleep through the night? Okay,
she does sleep through the night,
yeah,
and she wiggles her way up just to be, and then she rolls on her back because she likes to have her belly rubbed throughout the night. And then if you have the temerity to fall asleep, she will wiggle around to make sure, and then she'll like crawl under your chest. And so she is definitely, let's say she's acclimating, but she does sleep through the night and she's beautifully toilet trained, and there's so many pluses if we were marketing this dog. But anyway, so Chloe is in our lives, and it's very exciting. It's really nice. I haven't had a dog for a few months, and it's nice.
I think you've done amazingly well to be so restrained and not have a dog for a couple of months, because we totally caved quite quickly after we lost our dog. And I mean, it sounds awful because I know some people, are in mourning for a long time and it takes them a long time to adjust to the loss of the first dog. But we were just like, we just can't be without a dog. It's just like odd. It's really odd.
Well, this is, and we were talking before the live, that this is kind of like, finding a partner or finding that perfect new family member, and you want to make sure that everything works on all levels. it's not a possession.
Yeah.
It is a soul. It is a being, and you want to make sure you're doing everything to make the chemistry great. And,
Yeah.
anyway, so Chloe is with us right now, and
Watch this space.
watch this space, and I'm sure I will keep you apprised of what is happening in the lives of Molly, my wife, Chloe, and me.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. Well, that's enough for me to tune in next week. I mean, oh, hang on. I'll be here anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I won't. Now, yes. No, we will do one next week because I'm going to Paris next Friday. So,
Oui?
yeah.
Pourquoi?
Yes.
That means
I think
why?
I was going to say, I think you're just about pushing my French a little bit. I'm actually going with a native French speaker who said to me that she's not going to speak to me in English all weekend, which could be challenging.
Très bien.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you going? Is it just for fun?
So this is one of my former neighbors in Ottawa, and she is French born, and she is coming over to visit family. And with the Canadian head on / North American head, she was like, well, you're just over the water, so why don't you come and visit me? Even though I've never been on the Eurostar and I've actually never been to Paris. So
what?
No, it's ridiculous.
It's like an hour long.
I know.
How long is the trip?
Well, I have to kind of go up to London, sort of, go to the train station in London. Yeah. So like it's 2 hours from St Pancras. So once you get to St Pancras, and then I'm pretty much walking distance once I get to Paris. So
no, it's wonderful. I can't wait to go to Europe. I will be in Europe in May. Claire and I will be hanging out at the London Podcast Show. We'll be doing some other things. If you are in Europe, we'll just come on by. We'll be in. I'll be in. It's a small place, right?
Oh, it's very small.
Yeah. So UK, Italy, France. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm envious, and I do think this is a great time to go to Paris. The way the Parisians. So, how many days are you there?
Oh, literally 2 nights, because it's only over the water, Jim. So,
right. Well, you just get a small carry-on that goes on the. So, the way the Parisians celebrate Christmas is so different than any place I've ever seen. It is very reserved, very French.
Yeah.
But boy, they do the food really well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like maybe I should just stop eating now and in preparation for the weekend. And then
C'est une bonne idée.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that
is from Friday.
Well, we vicariously, I wouldn't. You come. So we will be live next Thursday.
Yeah, we will be. So that was why I was slightly confused. I don't know what day of the week it is, but we will be live next Thursday, and then on Friday morning,
and then you go on a train.
Off to the train.
Under the it's just
I was doing that for a train. That's definitely not right. It is definitely that.
And then it's faster because by the time you fly and get to Heathrow, and then you get from Charles de Gaulle, it's you might as well just be in the city, and it's lovely, and the train never loses its way. It just goes.
I remember when they first built that tunnel, having a conversation with somebody who will remain nameless, and they were sort of like, "Oh, you go under the channel, right? And are there windows in the tunnel so that you can see the fish outside?" And we're like, "No, it's under the sea." Bless them. Oh dear. Yeah.
It sounds like a good trip, and we will hear about that in a couple weeks. But join us next Thursday for another update to all the shows that are happening on Dog Podcast Network. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Yep. And we'll see you next week.
Okay. Ciao. Aloha.